Writing report cards these days is a time-consuming process that is made more difficult by the fact that we are using products and tools that are just not effective at allowing us to do our jobs efficiently. The ability to write report cards takes hours and hours and hours when using the tools that we are provided. So we need to come up with ways to simplify and create shortcuts so that we can produce these personalized and tailored report cards to our students in meaningful ways.
Welcome to the Ignite Your Teaching video podcast, where we help elementary teachers to make good teaching easy again. I'm your host, Patty Firth, mom of three, wife, and experienced classroom teacher who has made it my mission to help other teachers establish efficient routines, find effective solutions, and deliver engaging lessons over at madlylearning.com. So are you ready to ignite your teaching?
So in this video, I want to walk you through how I simplify my report card writing process so I can get more done in less time, while still being able to add individualized and personalized comments. The reality is that we have to write report cards in a very formulaic way. There is a structure that we are required to follow, and we have to write in a certain form and a certain way that unfortunately does not always make it easily understandable by parents. However, we also have to employ the cover your ass strategy because we cannot just brutally honest in a written report card that is a legal document. We have to be careful and choose our words carefully in what we can and cannot say and how we report on student learning. We always have to write with an asset-based lens to focus on the things that students can do and not what they can't do. So when we are generating report card comments, we can create a structure and a format that allows us to systematize what it is we're writing while also still being able to add some personalization into it as well. The format of many report cards that we are required to write follows three different steps. The first is going to be the skill that our students demonstrated. What is it that we actually evaluated? This comes from the curriculum where we are looking at what curriculum expectation we are evaluating, whether it's an overall or specific expectation, and we are rewording it because we all know the curriculum document is worded very difficult to understand from non-education professionals. So we are able to reword it in such a way that actually makes sense and reflects the learning that we did in our classroom. So part one is the skill. Now this is universal. All students engaged in generally the same lessons and we were teaching the same skills to our class. So there is no reason why that portion of the report card comment would need to be personalized. The next step is where we demonstrate the how. So we do the skill. How did that student perform that skill? What is the task that they completed? Once again, this can also be standardized in a sense. We can provide a framework for this middle section of the comment because every student generally participated in the same task completion. Now, students may have done something differently here, such as if we're making a writing comment, students wrote a variety of different pieces of writing throughout the term, such as. In that such as section is where we add the personalization for each individual student, but we can still create this format, the outline of the comment, and add in that small little personalization after the base comment is built. So again, we have the skill, we have the how, and now we have the next step. The next step is what those students need to do next to continue to improve upon that skill. Again, this is pretty standard. We're not generally in education with 30 students creating 30 individual pathways for every student. Some students, we can generally group them into different pathways that we need them to engage in. Some may need to read more. Some may need to think more critically about the research that they're gathering. Some may need to organize their ideas before writing. Others may need to add details and descriptions because we can standardize that, because we can generally say what next step we want to include. That next step can be standardized. So we want to make sure that we are building our comment and the framework for our comment in a standard way that we can then add in small areas within the comment that allows for personalization. Therefore, every student gets a personalized comment because we are building that three-part building block individually for each student. We have the first part of the skill, which is universal for every student. They were all doing the same skill. We have the how, which every student engaged in the same type of activity, so we can add the framework and then tweak little details inside that second part of the comment. And the third is the next step. We can pick 4 different next steps, group students into categories, and now they've created that full comment, but in a 3-part way, and every student gets an individualized comment when you build them that way. Think of it like a puzzle piece. If you build that comment like a puzzle piece, all of the elements, all of the pieces are different, and we build them together. So you're still creating a personalized comment, even if you are using a comment bank. So this is how we build the comments, and this is how I structure and build my comments so that I can save more time. Now I do this by creating a comment bank. So for example, this is my comment bank. This is the comment bank that I'm just going to focus on the first 2 parts of the comment, and then I will have a separate section for the next steps so that we can build part 1 and 2, because it's fairly standard for each student. There's sections where we can add in an example and a personalization into that comment, that first 2 sections of the comment bank, and then there's an opportunity for you to add the next step after that comment. It becomes complicated when we're trying to assemble, and this is where using some of the tools that we are provided by our school boards becomes more difficult, because the tools we are given don't necessarily reflect how we build, say, a language or a math comment. Language has inside its one language comment will have a mark and comment puzzle pieces for oral language, for reading, for writing, and media. So you need 4 different constructions of comments, because you need to comment on all 4 domains. So you need to build it out. Now, if you used a comment bank where all of that was in one block of text and you were just simply plugging it in and using it for every student, yeah, that's not what we want to do. But we do want to standardize how we build the reading, the writing, the oral, and the media comment so that we can construct that whole puzzle piece together. This is not what our programs that we're given are able to do. And this is what's taking us so much time in writing our report cards, because we have to assemble this puzzle piece manually and do that times 25 students. This is the problem and the difficulty, which is why we want to use a comment bank and a report card writing generator to help us to build those puzzle pieces in far less time so that we're not doing it manually. So we're going to first start with our report card comment bank. So let's go back into writing. So we may want to break down that oral language strand into both listening and speaking. Sometimes we may want to write expectations so that we have listening one term, speaking another term. We want to include both of them. We can build those pieces. We can pull out these are 2-part comments because your next steps are going to be later. We want to look at different ways that we can assess whether we're looking at analyzing texts, responding to a reading response, maybe their DRA or their decoding skills. We want to put that as a comment. These are all of the parts and pieces of a report card comment that we are building out. We also want to look at different writing and what that looks like. So we have comments that would be built for a student who's receiving a D, a C, a B, or an A, but we also have different variations of the comment that we may want to include. We have media, and we also have next steps for reading and next steps for writing. Now, ideally, we would have next steps for oral language and for media, but we all know that there is a limit on how much we're allowed to write in that language box, and it gets a little busy. So oftentimes we can just omit the next steps for media unless a student is getting a level 1 or 2, then we would want to add those next steps into those areas and maybe shorten up some of the text in other parts of that box. But again, the report card comment bank is simply providing us with the puzzle pieces for us to assemble. So we want to start with a report card comment bank so that we are not generating all of this text. So if you think about it, if you are starting from scratch every single time, you potentially would need to be writing and coming up with generating comments for all of this, which is exactly why we use report card comment banks. We always have, because it allows us to have a group of comments that we're not starting from a blank document. And I think that sometimes when parents complain that report card comments are always too generalized or they're not specific enough and they just want teachers to write them organically for each student, The reality is that all of those puzzle pieces, putting them together for each student, is extremely time consuming and takes 40, 60, 80 hours to be able to produce. So we want to start with a comment bank because it helps to generate and simplify what we're doing. So we have all of our comments inside our comment bank that we can go ahead and build our puzzle piece. So once we have our comment bank, and this is purchasable, you can purchase my comment banks for grades 3, 4, 5, or 6 on my Madly Learning store or on TPT, and the link will be in the show notes for that. But you can use all of these, and if you have whatever comment bank tool you are using, will allow you to, whatever comment bank tool you are using, you can simply use the find and replace tool to replace things like first name and pronouns inside your report card writing tool. However, one of the things that still becomes difficult if you just use a comment bank, that this will save you time because you're not simply starting from scratch and you can build the puzzle pieces yourself. You can tweak, and this is fully editable, so you can edit it to suit your own examples inside your classrooms. I've built this one to use as an example with my own programs with Ignited Literacy, Ignited Math, and Ignited Science and Social Studies. So all of these are aligned with some of the tasks that are being completed within those units. However, it's all editable so that you can change it and tailor it to what specifically was happening in your classroom, which is a personalized comment. Using a report card bank does not mean that your comments are not personalized. It simply means that you are being smart and efficient with not having to start from scratch in writing this 11-page document every time you have to sit down and write a report card. Because we all know that whether you're using, we don't have report card comment banks generated by others, so we have to come up with these ourselves. So take a shortcut, get ones that are generated already for you, and then you can simply tweak and change what you need as you're going into it. So the second step to simplify your report card writing process is to use a report card comment generator. Now, there are quite a few generators that are coming out on to say TPT. One of the limitations is that puzzle piece building. So often many of the report card comment generators that I've seen so far will just simply take a full completed comment and you just select the full comment instead of actually building the puzzle piece that is unique for each student. So if you think of the language comment, building it all together. And you often have to just select the comment. So you have to pick one comment for each student, and you want, which is good, it's a shortcut, but I want to take it one step further. So based out of my frustration for dealing with some of these programs and understanding that these were not built for teachers, I created a comment bank that would simplify how comments are produced, and it would all be based on the grades you assign students. So the first thing you do when you open up, so it's called Simply Graded. We're on version 9, so because there's heavy formulas that make this work, if a formula breaks, then I just release a different version and fix it for everybody. So there's some Q&A, and there's the different short codes that we use to build the comment so that you don't have to go back in and change any pronouns or hims and hers or hises and he's. It'll automatically update for whether or not students are using gender neutral pronouns, they're using female pronouns, or they're using male pronouns. There's all different short forms in there so that the comment will auto-populate the correct term. So the first step here is to go to your class list, and you'll see that I have examples here. Dylan Bell and Carrie Bradshaw are in here. Kimmy Gibbler is definitely a student in my class, but you just want to make sure that you are using their first name, their last name, and then you identify which pronoun that they are going to be using within your comment. So you just pick whether they are going to be using he, him, she, her, they, them. If you have students using different pronouns, you are able to edit them here if you needed to. And if it doesn't work, I can always update that if there's other comments. I haven't had anyone let me know that there are other pronouns that their students are using, but it's always possible. And you also have preferred name here as well. So you want students to look at what their preferred name is, because that's going to be used inside the comment bank. So the next step is to look at your comment bank, and this is where you're simply going to copy this over. So if you have the blank version of the Simply Graded, you're going to either, if you already have your own comment bank, you can copy it into here, or you can also just copy and paste, or we will soon be releasing, by the time this video goes live, we will be having released grade level versions of Simply Graded. So the comment bank will already be preloaded. So you'll get both the comment bank and you'll get Simply Graded, and the comment bank will be preloaded for you. So you're just going to enter in the features of your comment bank, all of the different expectations. Anything that's white can be changed, so you can change the title. So if you would rather look at the process expectations instead of the strands, you can do that here. There's also some others if you wanted to do, say, next steps for math and whatever you wanted to do for there. You have your IEP language comment as well as your oral language next steps, reading, writing, all of those. You just can change those. You have your science, strand A, B, C, and D. Again, strand A, B, C, and D. You just fill out all of your expectations. Unfortunately with this, because of the coding, you can't add new lines, can't add new rows to this, but you can change any of the titles. So if you want to just do more pieces, strand A, strand B, maybe this time you want it to do, say, one activity and another activity within one strand. You don't have to, you're not married to these titles. So once you have your comment bank copied in here, your next step is to go to the subject headings. Now, this is the beauty of here, is because you are going to build your comment, the puzzle pieces of your comment, so that each student gets a unique comment. The only thing that so it's all based on building in this protected sheet, so don't touch the protected sheet. But how it works is you're simply going to look for Dylan, and Dylan is using the she, her pronouns. Anything in gray we don't need to change, it automatically will populate. So these titles along this top, if you change one in the comment bank over here, it will change what happens in your language. So if I'm building Dylan's comment, I simply am going to enter in Dylan's mark, just like my mark book. So there's no language IEP mark for Dylan, so I leave that blank. I'm going to be marking oral language, so I want to give Dylan a B. Then I'm going to be marking reading, so I'm going to give Dylan a B again. And the next steps in reading is going to be, I'm going to say a C, and that again is just the categories. He doesn't get a C in next step. It just happens that the C is perhaps going to focus on having him read a wider variety of text, because I know that that's what Dylan needs. So I'm going to have Dylan just add that to his comment. Then it's going to, maybe he gets an A in writing, and his A in next step will be writing more descriptions. I'm going to give him a media mark of a C. And if we look over here, now because I don't actually have comments in my comment bank, you're going to see that it's just pulling what I do have, the text in my comment bank here. So if I were to pull all of my language comments, and I'm just going to make sure that I count how many are in the comment bank in language. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. And then I'm going to go into my language comments, and I'm going to do 8. So let's do listening, speaking. I'm going to copy this one in. And then I'm going to go and copy the analyzing text. And then I'm going to copy responding to reading. And you can rearrange these, so if you want them to be showing up in a different format inside your report cards, if you want to build your puzzle piece differently than how it is structured in your comment here, so it's written by the same. So we've got B, reading, next step is a B. Then we have writing, next step is an A, write media. If you want to do something different, you can simply just add them in a different order inside your comment bank, and they will show up in whatever order you have put them in. So if you want to first write reading instead of listening, then just switch out what your reading is and copy it into that line. So you can rearrange them as needed. Now, you'll notice that now Dylan has his comment, because I now have comments in my language comment. Dylan now has his comment. It is his full and complete comment. It uses his proper pronouns and spacing. It has all of the puzzle pieces built in. And then we can simply just copy this. And if we were to go into a new Word document or into your report card writing program, you can simply paste Dylan's comment right there. There may be a few editing. We have some spacing here, edits her writing. And there we have Dylan's comment, ready to go, personalized. If you would like to add personalized samples, so I love in my reading or in my writing to look for places uses editing. We can add things like, for example, and then I'm going to put 4 stars. Now, when I copy that and it goes in here and I see the 4 stars show up within a comment bank, in my report card writing tool, I simply just click Command F on my Mac and search for every time I see 4 stars in a row. That will tell me where in the comment I need to add the example. So I just go to my assessment notebook and look at the last couple of things that students did really well in their writing, and I just add the title of what it is they're writing, or I add a specific example for that student. So using that placeholder, it means my entire comment is built. All I need to do when I actually copy it into the report card program is add the specific example for each student individually. So instead of having to write this entire paragraph for every single student times 25 students, you can simply have this comment built for you and then add the personalization tweaks into it afterwards. So this is how the report card writing tool will save you time. I can simply just go through and maybe I've got a whole bunch of B's. And maybe everyone's getting a B, and I can just copy it down here so that all of my students are going to get a B. They all get the B in analyzing text. Maybe we just did really well, but I'm going to add all of them here. There, the comment is built. Maybe the next step is going to be A, C, B, and we're just going to go down and add all of these comments to students and what their next step is. And you can see on the side here, all of the comments are auto-populating. And you're building, it's not just a standard comment. You don't have to think about what comment is going in there. You don't have to read through 87 comments to pick the one you're looking for. You simply enter the grade and the comment is auto-populated straight from your grade book, which builds in that piece of personalized comments because each student is getting their own variation built on their grades that they're receiving inside this grade book. Now the same happens for math, the same happens for social studies, and the same happens for science, the arts, HPE. All of it builds out the same. So if you have final marks for your students and you have a comment bank, you can finish all of your report card comments in an hour or 2 instead of the 40 hours it's traditionally taken you. If you are interested in learning how to save time writing the report cards so you can still build a personalized comment using efficient tools that will help you get from start to finish in significantly less hours, then you can check out the show notes at www.madlylearning.com, and the link is in the description. You can learn more about Simply Graded as well as the report card comment banks. You can find all of those on my Madly Learning store or on Teachers Pay Teachers. Happy report card writing.